Louder.
Now, as you're getting older, have you felt that because one of the things I talk a lot about on my podcast, Modus V, is because a lot of people who do jiu-jitsu follow it, is overtraining. And especially because I'm older, I can't train like I did when I was 18 in wrestling. You know what I mean? In high school, there's absolutely no way. And so I've tried to become a lot more cognizant of, and just listening to my body saying, hey, you're overtrained. Is it something you've also had to do as you've gotten older?
I tried to.
You've been in this game a while.
Yeah, man, I try to do that. It's a hard concept for me to buy into that you can achieve more by doing less. But so many people say you can. We just got done with the Olympics, and the Russians come in and clean house every year. It's us versus the Russians. China always takes the Olympics real serious. And the Russians, they maintain from, decades and decades ago that the Americans train too hard, that you can get more out of doing less. And that's always been a tough concept for me to buy into. And then when you talk about me specifically, I used to have performance enhancers that would help with that recovery, whether testosterone was a great one for that. And those days are gone. The testosterone ban and the new testing, I'm on the other side of the tracks now, and it does matter. I can't go as hard as many times a day. You need that nap in the afternoon or an extra break if you're going to get to that evening session. It's just, so in that regard, I got to listen to my body and I got to change some stuff up. But psychologically, it eats away at me because I feel like, man, if I'm doing less, I'm going to get less. And I'm trying to buy into, hey, that's not necessarily true, but I'm not there yet mentally.
Yep, because we were brainwashed in the church of Dan Gable. I grew up wrestling, too. I ended up going to, Von Hitchcock wrestling camps, and Dan Gable was, my hero. And I think I even read something where, because his whole thing is you train all day, there is no such a thing as overtraining. I think I saw something where he's like, yeah, we were doing it wrong. We were wrong, And for us coming up in that wrestling culture, it's like, wow, what a breath of fresh air to hear him say, yeah, we were training too hard,
Yeah, I love how you said that, the Church of Dan Gable, because that is kind of where it all started, and he was putting out Olympic champion after Olympic champion. It's like, well, you have to listen to this guy. But he was also the guys he was training, the guys that were winning those medals were between anywhere from 23 to 26 years old. That was kind of the high end. The Brands boys made it all the way to 27 years old, and that was very old in the sport at that time. So now, as you and I are talking, right, we're in our 40s and heading up on 50s. Yeah, it does change, and you need to listen to a little bit of that. And we don't need quite as much time in the practice room because we kind of got our techniques down, but it is a matter of refining it. And I have a trainer, Clayton Hires, and he's a military guy. He's an old school boxing guy. In fact, he fought and beat Floyd Mayweather Sr. Floyd Sr. only lost 4 fights ever. One of them was to Clayton. So he's this old school guy, and he is used to training the teenagers into those early 20s. And now he works with me, works with Uriah Hall and some other guys, and he's starting to see, well, I can't torture these guys the same way that I could, when they were in their teens. And it is a reality. You want to get that same effort in and that same hard push in, but at the same time, you got to cut down on those minutes. And it's just tough for me to buy into, but I'm trying.
Yeah. Now, as far as performance-enhancing substances, do you think that helped you more physically or more mentally, or is it both at the same time? Because I've heard that the aggression and just the focus that you can get in training is one of the things that helps. Was it more physical or mental? Yeah,
right now, so they say when guys come off that stuff that one of the hardest things that they have is the mental side, that they feel like they maybe lost a little edge. And I can tell you that is true. You do have some of those thoughts, but physically, it was just the recovery. I had some other guys that was on testosterone at the same time that I was, and they would come out in interviews and they would say, well, this wasn't an enhancer. I didn't take it for enhancement. I took this, my doctor recommended it. And I'm going, that wasn't my experience. It really did enhance me. And I'll just tell you this right out of the gate. Life enhancer with my experience with testosterone, which I will go back to someday. I just can't do it while fighting. You can't mix the two, but it was an energy. I had more energy, Nick. If I was to go to bed and have no alarm clock, I was on vacation, no responsibility, I could pull off 10 hours. I could do 10 hours before I got out of bed. When I was taking testosterone, I could do 6.5. That was all I could do. Whether the alarm clock went off or not, I could not. Yeah, and so, when you talk about getting an extra 3.5 hours into your day on a day off, that's an enhance. Your whole life's going to be better. You get 3.5 extra hours to go and do whatever it is, whether you got a grocery shop, social life, watch extra TV shows, you're just happier all around. So physically, I love the medicine, and it was really great, but you just can't blend the two. It's as simple as that, man. You just can't.
Well, I tell you, what's going to be very interesting is what's going to happen in 10 years when they start moving toward genetic enhancements, and they're using like CRISPR to alter DNA and turn on like myostatin and different types of affecting different genes. That's what's going to be crazy, because they may not be able to. Number one, they may not be able to detect it. But number two, what's going to happen when we're all in the audience and we're all buff and looking good, and these guys getting in there are like, mortal?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. And then, when you talk about that, I'll tell you a fascinating one is stem cells. And that ties back to Dana when he had the meningers, if I'm saying that right, with his ear, that disease.
Yeah.
And he had to go over to Germany because it wasn't even something they offered here, and it cured him. And he said it was like 6 hours in this lab, and he'd heard about it from, these people had told him, look, you got to try this. So he was flying out somewhere. He stops off in Germany, and he was cured. And the doctors even told him, hey, we really won't know if you're cured for a couple of months. And Dana's like, oh, no, I know right now. I can tell you right now I'm cured. And
amazing.
It's been a couple of years, and sure enough, he is. It's gone. And that is amazing. Stem cells is very fascinating research.
Did you ever end up doing blood spinning?
No, I wanted to, but again, the stuff that they do in the States isn't the same. They could separate the plasma. We've got PRP and we've got some stuff here, but I did want to go to Germany specifically and try some. No, I never did, and I still have that on my bucket list, and I'm convinced by the stuff that I've read that it could add years to your life even, but no, it was just the inconvenience.
It sounds to me like when they talk to him about it, but it sounds to me like primarily what it does is it reduces inflammation in the body. And one of the things that really ages us is inflammation, which, fight or flight, when you're in that fight or flight mode, it puts the body in stress with cortisol and adrenaline, and it will age you. And so that I think anything that they can do to reduce inflammation helps us as we get older, and helps us, so you can recover and you can train, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah, I agree.
Fascinating time.
Nick, I tell you, I'm looking at the time, man. I suppose we should call it. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, man. I'm so glad we had an opportunity to catch up, and I definitely want. Are you going to do any more of the grappling matches? Yeah, we got a show coming up December 11th. Who's on that? We're working on that now. We're leaning towards a tournament format. We're thinking about doing like an 8-man tournament. EBI does that. He does 16-man, but he does these. They're a very cool thing, and you can do it with grappling. And unfortunately, you can't do it with fighting anymore, just because the guys are so good. It's too hard to fight 3 men in one night. But that's where I want to go. We're still in those talks right now, but I think I'd like to do a tournament. I think that could be fun.